Something I wanted to bring up in today's Dear Sam Help Horsemanship Series is warning people about opening Pandora's box. And what I mean by that is, as horse owners become more aware in their equine's communication and perhaps things that are going on deeper below the surface, and recognizing that the things they thought were problems were actually symptoms, and they're having to dig in a bit and peel back the layers, as I say, is that as we start creating a safe place for the horse to be able to express themselves for whatever degree of, we'll say, containment that they've had to have, whether it was mentally or physically, which often most horses go through, and we start to say, no, really, tell me how you feel. And we allow them to have an opinion. We allow them to express themselves. We encourage them to think. We are trying to reawaken their curiosity. There is usually a period of time that takes, or that we need to acknowledge, will be a lot of purging for that horse. For whatever past human experiences that maybe created defensiveness or fear or distrust, there is quite a lot of purging that starts to come out. And I find too many people have good intentions, but they kind of have this set agenda of, okay, I'm ready to help my horse heal, so let's go forward. And, as with anything that's been through trauma, you can't force the healing to happen. You can set it up to increase the chances of success. But the reality is, until, certainly with horses, they have new experiences where they are mentally present, where they are not defensive or anticipative, where they are not fearful or reactive towards whatever the human might be doing, they cannot have new experiences. And if they don't have new experiences, then they are only operating on what they've previously learned about the human experience. And so what happens is, as we start to say, yes, express yourself, and yes, you can search, you can try, we're not going to critique you, often a lot more comes out than what people realize the horse has stuffed inside, because so many horses, surprisingly, contain a lot. And even if we know they're tight, even if we know they have tension, most people don't really have an empathetic perspective to realize how many, perhaps years or decades of containment so many horses are carrying. And so we have to stay emotionally neutral in that time where we are allowing them to express themselves. Again, there's still going to be boundaries. There's still going to be support offered in our communication. It's not just a free-for-all. And the other part is to recognize that these horses kind of vacillate from extremes. So when they've always been like hyper alert, hyper defensive, hyper anticipative because of all these fearful or traumatizing human experiences, and then you go to this other side of them being able to express themselves, it's often, I see, it looks like the horse will have the maturity of a very young horse. It's almost like they're incredibly immature because they lost that whole period of time where they would have been thinking and participating in maybe a healthy herd environment, and instead experienced this dictatorship to basically that created a completely dysfunctional equine. So just something to consider. You need to have room that in case Pandora's box does get opened, that everything that the horse is offering in their behaviors and their feedback, you have to not take it personal. You have to stay in a neutral place. And you also have to create a safe environment for them to express themselves in, meaning you cannot operate on how they used to be, because often we think our horses are okay in a lot of scenarios while that horse is still in that contained obedient state. But as they start to be allowed and encouraged to express themselves, many things that they used to seem like they could handle, they no longer can. And so this can be quite difficult for people who say, well, my horse seemed like he used to be trained, and now that I'm trying to create the safe place, it seems like it's all falling apart. And the reality is, when training comes from fear, there really wasn't any sort of building of trust. There was no adaptability, there was no thinking, there was no mental availability to be influenced by the human. And those are really the important things that truly keep us safe for all scenarios, whether we've experienced them before or they're new or they're different. And so we have to help that horse let go of those past ways of surviving the human experience without judging or critiquing him for what he expresses. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining me.